Hey guys, what's going on? This is Roth and Eric here to talk a little Walking Dead Season 4 finale.
Yep.
I've reviewed the entire season, so my review is up there on the site of the finale. Now, I gotta tell you, I have found this experience alarming because this is possibly the most divisive show that I have dealt with personally, and the response is always, it is categorically worthless or it is, untouchably grand. I think it's neither. I think it has some problems that I hope get solved.
Yeah.
I think that has great moments. I think it has a lot of potential. Those are sort of my overall thoughts. I liked the first half of the finale more than I liked the second half of the finale. Looked like they were doing a lot of problem solving this season to me, but I want to know what you think.
I felt like the finale unfortunately, it wasn't great to me, though there were great moments. And it captured some of the issues Walking Dead has overall, which is a lot of pacing and structuring. Because I was thinking about the fact that the finale, there were some things going in we were excited about. We were excited to see a bunch of the characters meet up, supposedly. And we knew that Joe was coming to kill Rick. And we thought, I don't know about you, but I thought it would happen at Terminus. They'd reach there and then it'd be like the showdown. Instead, the way it was structured was the first third was like that big showdown. And it was freaking intense, certainly. And Rick bit a dude's throat out, which was awesome.
I thought that was great.
But I kind of felt it deflated the finale overall, oddly, and enough didn't happen at the end, except these guys are bad, even though we'll talk more about what they're doing. So, I don't know, I felt structurally it was kind of odd the way they played it.
I agree. I mean, I would say that in that first third, I was really excited. I was like, yeah, this is the finale I want. I'm so on board for this. It's addressing so many things at once, sort of, for me. Although I did like Joe. I didn't like him. He was a terrible man, I thought he was an interesting character that had been introduced. And then you're right. At Terminus, it seemed like it did kind of lose steam. The wind went out of the sails a little bit because for me, though, we did see hints of the darkness that's going on there. I wanted to see something really big happen. I wanted to feel a real imminent threat. And then we go out on that as the cliffhanger. But what I liked is that I felt like they were finally just kind of definitively answering the question of, who is Rick? Is he a good leader or is he a bad leader? Is he a man of morals or is he a man of action? And to me, it's like, good, let's just definitively say he is what he needs to be in the moment. And that's exactly what you would need to be in this world. And let's move on from that question and get to some new territory next year.
Yeah, because there's been a lot about like Rick and his leadership role, and is he stepping up? Is he stepping back? And I do think that's got to be kind of tabled. But I did think I didn't like the flashbacks. I felt they were unnecessary, and I felt they were a little bit hand-holding and kind of wanting you to sort of really see, like, look how different he was when he was at the prison and it was peaceful versus how he is out here on the road. And it kind of didn't give the audience enough credit because we saw it. We saw him as a farmer. We saw him completely that changed man. So I didn't think we needed to be reminded and shown how he got to that point.
Yeah.
They wanted to do that cut back and forth between, wow, peaceful farmer versus dude who beat someone to death,
And rips out the chest.
Yeah, a lot of ripping and tearing. But I just felt like it just wasn't needed, and it was a little bit too direct. Because, I don't dislike Rick, but I've had a lot of issues with that back and forth they've had. And I hope you're right about the fact that can be done with now.
I think it is. And I'll tell you why. It's funny because I thought about what you're saying, and I agree that one of the Walking Dead's, I think, problem areas is actually, I think one of the reasons is that it's as popular as it is, which is that it's dealing with kind of interesting questions, but it's dealing with them in a very unsubtle manner. I like the questions that it raises. I like thinking on these. I think it's interesting for me, but it does sort of go, let me make this so totally clear that I know that all 20 million of my viewers tonight are going to understand the grander message here. And I think it's interestingly, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like it may be why it has become comfort television, because it's not hard to get the point, It doesn't challenge the viewer very much in that way, but it does present an interesting sort of set of moral conundrums, and then it answers them in a very simple manner. It's a weird thing about the show where I think what's working for it also works against it in a lot of ways. It's a tough conundrum for the writers. I think what Scott Gimple was trying to do this season, was tie up a lot of loose ends, kind of try and deal with some problems that had been there, and create a blank slate for next year. I don't know how that's going to work out ultimately. I thought it worked out to greater and lesser degrees this season.
Yeah, I felt like when I think about the finale, I thought, on the pacing issue, it's like, because there was a lot of episodes this second half of the season that people thought were kind of dragging. And I thought that, yeah, maybe if they'd paced it out a little differently, they could have dealt with the things they dealt with in the finale in a way that felt better. Because instead, like we were saying, like that first third having such a sort of dramatic thing, and then we go, and it's strange to say that there's not as much drama as you want from people running from machine guns and being herded into a train car. But I think because we knew Terminus was bad, because we watch TV and it's The Walking Dead, you wanted that extra thing. And I will say about, how they can be very unsubtle. I felt like Joe was a missed opportunity, because that episode with Daryl getting to know him, it's like, okay, this is interesting. This is a bad guy in a lot of ways, but he's got his code and whatnot. And it was so just all gone. It was like the entire group are rapists and murderers.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to say we're killing Rick, because of our guy, and it's another to say we're going to rape this kid and this woman and whatnot.
Right.
And the fact that I thought, this is a weird thing to say, but it's like, it would have still been awful, obviously, but if Joe had even said, well, I don't condone it, but I'm not going to stop him, would have been more interesting and nuanced than just like, we're going to rape him all. And because it got rid of any of the sort of interesting complexities I thought that they could have done with Joe.
I agree with you. I felt like he was a real missed opportunity. It was a great performance, too.
Yeah.
And so I wish that they would, sometimes I feel like the show gets so in their head, the producers, they want to reach certain markers, they want to reach certain goals for the characters, they want to tie up certain things, that they don't allow things to kind of organically unfold the way other shows maybe have, where they go, you know what, this character is doing a lot more than we initially thought he was. Let's switch gears and find a way to keep him around, and it's weird because when they have done that, that hasn't really worked either.
Except for Daryl.
Except for Daryl, But in terms of they kind of swung back to the governor to redo that season 3 finale, or / to keep him around a little bit longer. That didn't totally pay off either. It's just I think it's really a tough nut to crack. I think that there's a lot about the show that I really enjoy, but I do think it has that what works for it also often works against it. And in this finale, I did want to see that extra little bit at the end of impact. But I thought it was overall a really well-directed episode.
It was. It's Michelle MacLaren, who's done some amazing work on Breaking Bad. She's done some of their most famous, awesome episodes.
It had that kind of Old West feel to me, which I enjoyed. But, what we want to see from next year, I hope that they feel unencumbered of the questions they've placed on themselves about Rick, about leadership, about those things. I hope that they're able to let those go and sort of just delve into some new story territory that aren't as tied to a lesson.
We should talk about, let's get a little direct on what was happening at Terminus. And I guess we'll say spoilers from the comic books.
And possibly the game.
Yeah, but we'll mix it in with the fact that I know people who didn't read any of the comics, didn't play the game, still had this speculation because it's not like it was that subtle. So here we go. We all are assuming that they're cannibals.
Cannibals.
And by the end, there's no reason not to. It's like there's so many things from him saying, the more people we take in, the stronger we get. But there's not that many people there.
And there's no animals, and yet they have endless amounts of meat. And does she ever not grill?
Tasha Yar is just cooking away.
Grilling and grilling.
And then, of course, there was an actual shot when they're running from the machine gun fire. There is a shot of a bunch of bones and maybe a little entrails left on them and whatnot. So 99%, unless they really want to swerve the other way and kind of a weird twist, they're going to be cannibals. And we talked earlier about the fact that you thought like they should have just told us that in the finale.
I really do, because I know they wanted to end on a cliffhanger, and for them, and they want to leave room for an OMG moment next season. OMG, they're cannibals. But I felt like you left enough hints and you sort of skirted around it enough that why not just go for it and then leave people waiting till October to see how that plays out? Like, why not really put someone in imminent danger? Like, they've chopped off a leg, I mean, we saw that in the comic and the game.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just do it, man. Like, you already had almost kid rape,
Right.
Like, what's wrong with just chop off the damn leg and have someone really in peril, and then go, how the hell are, and then don't end on Rick going like, I can handle this, no problem. Although it was cool to see him get his mojo back, but have it end on like, I don't know that this can get handled at all. Leave us with that question.
Yeah, it was weird. And I do want to talk about that final line. Matt Fowler, who writes for IGN, had said something that I agree with, which is it really kind of oddly weakened it that he didn't say they don't know who they're f***ing with. And it's funny, it's a weird TV thing. We're talking about how popular The Walking Dead is, and it's insanely popular. That word, the F word, has been used on Breaking Bad and Mad Men on the same network. But those shows weren't seen. Even at Breaking Bad's end, it was still nowhere near the ratings of Walking Dead, which I think is so popular, and even like kids watch it, even though they shouldn't be, that I bet AMC's like, yeah, we can't have him say that word. And it strangely weakened that line, because it's like, why would he just say screwing? That's not his strong line.
He just ripped out someone's throat.
He just ripped out someone's throat. So that was like an odd choice, and kind of, I don't know, it kind of diminished that moment. But like you were saying, as much as they want to show like, yeah, like Rick's back, this is the last episode till October. And it just felt like it needed something.
It needed a little more punch there at the end. I agree, but I think I like, in general, the show a little more than you do. I enjoyed it a little more than you, but I see sort of the areas that need shoring up, and I hope that happens next season.
I do too. I mean, an episode like The Grove is very special TV. It shows, again, what the show can do. We know it's possible.
I hope we see more of that, and internment. But we want to know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Why do you think it's so divisive? Why do you think that people feel so passionately either way? Did you like the finale? What did you like? What would you like to see more of next season? Let us know, and keep it locked here to IGN.